Good afternoon and happy Sunday. It's PFG Live for Thursday. See, I was seeing if you're awake. Sunday, the 25th of June, 2023. And it is 2 p.m. on the East Coast. And in Piscataway, New Jersey, it's 2:20. Welcome aboard. So we have a few new technical items going on today, which is going to be interesting. So we are running on YouTube using what's called ultra low latency. So previously, when we last met our heroes, hey Chipload, welcome aboard, sir. When we last met our heroes, we had this 25-second lag time. And believe it or not, now we have about a 3-second lag time. So it's way better. So we'll see how that goes. But that is a new deal for this stream, and we'll see how effective it is. Almost Machining says, happy Sunday from Bar Z, the day after the bash. Awesome. 68 Fahrenheit. Quite standard of you. I hope you guys had an awesome time at the bash. For those of you who don't know, the Bar Z Summer Bash is, I guess, would you call it a 2-day event? Held out at Bar Z Industrial, Stan Zinkowski's sprawling ranch. And I saw some photos from it via Instagram, and it looks like there was a good time had by all. Yeah, 2-day, unless you're there to work, in which case I guess it's a 3-day or a 4-day. But so have you left? Have you already hit the road? I was thinking about that, and I realized that if it was still going on today, we could have done something. But I guess it's cleanup day. I have to get out there one of these days. And actually, this year I was threatening to come out, but I couldn't pull it off. Just too much going on here. Maybe next year. So we're doing this ultra low latency thing, which means if you have a question or a comment or a snarky remark, or right now if you have a weather report, we will get it and post it quickly as opposed to slowly. So we have a lot on the agenda. Oh, you're still there. Well, tell Stan I said hi. And we have a check-in from Zanesville, Ohio. 84 and sunny. And I guess that's from NYC, CNC. It's pretty ironic looking down and seeing NYC and then seeing Zanesville. It might hurt my brain. Robert Isaac is here. All rise. Be seated. WidgetWorks checks in. Scattered thunderstorms, 18 degrees science, 69 degrees RF, from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Well, thank you very much, sir. Scattered thunderstorms. We're actually going to get the same scattered thunderstorms. Unix Carbide reports threatening rain in Brooklyn, 83 Fahrenheit. I've always found Brooklyn to be threatening, so I don't think that's unusual. Wes is here, 72 and sunny in south central Idaho. Excellent. It's good for the potatoes. Nice. The gang's here. So what else is new and different? So a weird thing. I know you guys are nerds, so I figured I'd share some of this with you. I use this software called OBS, which is our broadcast software. It lets me do all these graphics and stuff. But it makes me nervous in that I currently have a problem because I think I tied Discord in. It has something to do with it, where it won't let me locally record. So I'm a little worried about that. So the podcast is actually being recorded on a separate device just in case. And that means it'll be up quicker. So we'll make that happen. So good. The gang's all here. So if you're coming in late, you can jump in the chat and make a weather report, which is standard here until at least 5 minutes past the hour. And we will take you even if you're late. We will not send you to the back of the room to clean erasers. pretty cool week. Did a bunch of grinding, got some orders out, got more orders in. So theoretically today, I'll be setting up for 4-inch mini stones and 4-inch round aluminum oxides because I have orders that have to get out. And the spreadsheet is screaming at me. Speaking of spreadsheets, the way I run Kinetic Precision, especially with respect to PFG Stones, is I have a master spreadsheet which tells me what to make. So it knows how much finished product I want on hand for each product, for each category. It knows how many components I want on hand, like trays, raw stones, that kind of stuff. And as long as I keep that spreadsheet up to date, it will tell me at any moment, oh, you need to go make this many trays in the 3D printing department. You need to go make this many stones in the grinding department. And you need to go place an order or go pick up raw materials for stones or whatever. So there's some things it doesn't track. Like I don't track filament that way. I don't track some of the consumables. But trays, lids, raw stones, those are the main things so that business can flow smoothly. So now, I know I might have mentioned this last week, I have my 3D printing files for all of the trays and lids in each printer. So when the spreadsheet says you need something, I can go downstairs and walk up to whichever printer I want. It's in the memory, pick it, print it, and go. And we'll be talking more about why that's a little different now than it was before. I did the same thing on the Prusas, but with the bamboos, it's even betterer. Carl is here. Welcome aboard, Carl. How's the weather where you are? So, the new printers are integrated into the production flow, and I couldn't be happier. So we'll get into that a little bit. So the response from Bamboo has been excellent. I had a printer come. My number one Bamboo came in with a bent bracket. I think I told you about that. They said we'll be happy to replace your printer. That printer is showing up. The replacement printer is showing up tomorrow, and They also sent me via email the PDF of the shipping sticker. So as soon as that thing shows up, I can rebox the old one, take their sticker. Thankfully, I know how to do this without much pain. Put the sticker on it and right out the door to UPS. So that's happening tomorrow. But something else interesting happened. So let me show you. Here's, if you're watching the video, you have the advantage of, video. Here's a Prusa spool, okay? And this happens to be a spool, a plastic spool that contained the PLA basic. So this was full of filament, and now it's empty. So I want to show you two things. One thing I want to show you is right here, this little dot here is an RFID tag. And when you put the spool in the AMS, in the multi-spool selector, it can read the RFID tag, and then it knows what it is. You don't have to tell it, which is pretty cool. And from a production machine point of view, that's really nice. So I was getting ready I was thinking about this printer swap, which is going to happen tomorrow. It's coming UPS, I'm glad. And I'm glad because I'm going to tell you a story about FedEx Ground in a minute. It's actually not about FedEx Ground this time, but I will tell you a story. So I'm kind of looking at both printers, and I'm thinking of things, and I ran out of filament. I had an empty slot in number one, so I was going to do something. And all of a sudden I realized, Bamboo number 2 has demonstrated the reading of the RFID tags. So I've got like I think 3 out of 4 of the spools in there were the bamboo spools, and it read the RFID tags. And you can tell because if you go to the page that shows how you're loaded up, there's a different symbol. I can't remember if it's a little eyeball. I think it's a little eyeball or something that says, hey, I read this spool. You don't have to tell me anything about it. Well, disturbingly, printer number 1 doesn't have that, despite having a couple of the bamboo spools in it. And I remember, gee, it didn't read the RFID tag. Oh, that's okay. I'll enter it by hand. And then, gee, it didn't read the RFID tag. That's okay. I'll enter it by hand. And suddenly I realized, I think that bamboo number 1 has never performed an RFID read. And that was interesting. So originally I was thinking when they send me this new printer, I was just going to, well, I'll just keep the AMS because it'll be less unpackaging. But now I'm saying, no, no, the whole thing's going back. So this was I did not report this to them. I just discovered it yesterday. And I have not tested it because I was too busy actually printing. But I guess that goes on the checklist of how to test out the printer, is make sure that is working. So, K-Bonk is here. Welcome aboard. 86 degrees Fahrenheit and cloudy and humid in the Philadelphia 19123. Thank you for getting a little more specific because of everybody from Philadelphia who checks in. We now can map out the whole area. So, little concerned that bamboo number 1 was never actually reading RFID. If I have time later, I will test that theory. But that was a discovery yesterday. So while we're on the subject of the bamboo spools, I will show you, if you're on video, these are replaceable, reusable spools. So every time you buy filament from bamboo, you're getting one of these. And most, or I should say many of the filaments are available in refills, in which case you save a couple of bucks and you get a refill, and you just take one of your old spools, you open it up, you pop the refill on, and you go to town. I really like that. And I'm telling you that part of the story because it is relevant to a business decision that I'm about to make. So as you know, we've been making these trays. I've been calling lids trays for 2 days now. Lids and trays in a standard red color for PFG Stones. It's part of our trade dress. And it's important to me that the color stays essentially the same, and that the quality stays the same, and that the functionality stays the same, even though we might change filaments. Flat Lapper is here. He has declared a late check-in. You don't get extra points for actually admitting that you're late, but we appreciate it. 77 degrees and sunny in northern Illinois. Is it Illinois or Illinois or Illinois? We need to know. So I've been testing different filaments, both for color and for functionality, in mostly the PETG realm, because that's what I use, but also I've been testing other materials. So this is actually PLA Plus from eSun, and there's also a PLA, what do they call it? PLA Basic, I'm sorry. There's a PLA Plus from eSun, there's a PLA Tough from Bamboo, and I've been testing both of those. The PLA Tough I didn't have in red, but I had it in green, and I made some little things with it, and I rather like it a lot. So I also tested a PETG from Sunlu, and I didn't like it. I reported on that last week. But the reason I'm telling you that is I've decided to stick with PETG. No S when pronouncing please. You said please, you got it. We'll now call it Illinois because there's no S. No, I'm kidding. It's Illinois. We know that. So I'm gonna stick with my original material, which is the Overture PETG red. until I run out. And then this week, just this week, I mean days ago, 2 days ago, Bamboo announced that they're coming out with their PETG Basic, which is basically exactly what I need. So I immediately, I mean minutes after they made the announcement, I ordered a spool of PETG Basic from Bamboo, and I would like to share with you. You're gonna be some of the first folks to see this if you're on video, or hear the crinkling of the plastic if you're on audio. But here is my first ever. Okay, and I want to show this to you because you can see here's my FedEx sticker and everything. And again, I'm sorry if you're not watching on video, but we'll give you a full play-by-play. Here it is, my first roll ever of PETG Basic from Bamboo. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, that looks like a 16 gauge wide crown stapler from Freeman. What does that have to do with a roll of filament? Well, what it has to do with a roll of filament is, this is what I got from FedEx Ground yesterday. And this is not PETG Basic from Bamboo. So I was more than a little confused. Okay, Bonk, we'll talk about that in a minute. I was more than a little confused when I got my thing. Now, I was very quick to judge, and I thought that FedEx Ground screwed up. I was certain that FedEx Ground screwed up. And you know what? FedEx Ground did not screw up. It turns out that thing had the exact correct tracking number. Everything was perfect. I believe that Bamboo hires these distribution centers. And this one was in Perth Amboy, New Jersey. Is there anybody here from Perth Amboy? Anybody? Perth Amboy? No one? And I believe they slapped a sticker on the wrong thing and sent it. So I have a stapler. And we may be giving this away. We may be giving away this 16 gauge wide crown stapler from Freeman, model number PWC50, to a lucky contestant. But we'll find out tomorrow, when I expect to be hearing from Bamboo as to the mea culpa. And where the heck is my filament? So I guess I was more upset with the fact that I don't have the filament. And it's going to take another couple of days for them to sort it out. So does it work when loading PETG? I've been trying to load PETG into that stapler for hours, and I'm getting nowhere. So yeah. Do I own an air compressor? Baby, I own a Kaiser. So no, the truth of the matter is, if I kept that thing for whatever bizarre reason, I can absolutely operate it. The question is, would I ever actually need it? I don't know. But it's a tool, so that's not one of the questions we use for buying tools. So isn't it funny that I just want a roll of consumables instead of this wonderful stapler? But I really do. So Unix Carbide says, maybe the universe is telling you to pick up woodworking. I promise you, the universe is not telling me to pick up woodworking. On the list, you have to have two lists in life. You have to have the list of things you're going to do and you're going to be good at. Then you have to have the list of things you are not going to do. Getting into woodworking is on the latter. I respect it. I think it's wonderful. It's a craft. I have friends that are fantastic at it. Not doing it. So, in fact, my kids know that we don't make wood dust in the shop. That's sort of one of the rules. Anyway, we'll see what happens. I'm sure that Bamboo will take care of me. They have been terrific, and I respect any growing pains that they might have. And setting up these remote distribution centers. Like I got my printer from California, and this filament is coming from Perth Amboy, New Jersey. There couldn't be two more different places. So we'll see what happens. Kind of bummed, but we'll sort that out. So I ended up testing different materials for the trays, okay? And if you saw on Instagram earlier today, you want to know what Suburban Tool did to me? That's an old story, but I'll tell you. Suburban Tool was unimpressive as far as customer service was concerned. They were like, yeah, get lost. You know, here's a bone. I don't want to go into Suburban Tool, but if you ask me to compare the customer service process of Bamboo Lab to Suburban Tool, there would be no question here. Okay, you wonder why offshore companies are getting our business and American companies aren't getting our business. There's a perfect example. You want to come visit?
Yeah.
So we have the graphic arts department here today. Sam's here. You've met Sam before. Sam designed a lot of the stickers that we have.
Let's see.
Yeah. Yeah.
That one was me.
Yeah.
That one was me.
Yeah.
That one was me.
Yeah.
That one was me, but for a different reason.
That was
technically.
You. That was you.
This one was me. This one was me. That one was me. I did the Kinetic Precision logo.
Actually, this was mine.
Technically.
So listen, if you need staff members, this is how you get them. I'm just pointing that out.
Hey, look, I'm working 40 hours a week now.
So Sam's working for Blizzard. That's why the where's my hand? There it is. The Blizzard sticker has made it up on the board, and Sam is a Blizzturn.
Swag.
And
my swag came in recently, and it's very comfortable.
And really, we're standing in a room here where a lot of the blame for Sam being a Blizzturn falls on me, because I was sitting in this very chair playing World of Warcraft while Sam was 9 years old and watching me play, and that went on for quite a while.
It actually spanned the time we moved houses.
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It did.
It did.
And then you finally gave me your bank alt, who is now my main character and continues to be my main character.
That's right. So Robert Isaac asks, did Sam design your logo? And the answer is yes.
The Kinetic Precision logo, yes.
Right, which is right over my my shoulder right here.
Yeah, that one.
Okay, and it's also up on your screen right there. So yes, it was a typical design process where it went back and forth between designer and management. And
management. How long ago did I design that for you? Was that?
Well, I don't know.
Because that might have been before. That might have been one of the first commissions I took. Actually.
Might have been. I paid for it.
You did pay for it.
I'm still paying for it. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
You just here to visit? You want to hang out?
I might hang out for a little bit.
You could hang out. You could shout snarky remarks from the peanut gallery.
Peanut gallery?
It's over there.
Actually, it isn't frame. The chat doesn't cover it.
It's in frame?
Yeah.
You go sit in the peanut gallery. So that was unexpected surprise. This is what happens when you do it live, people.
We're doing it live.
We're doing it live.
Yeah, see? I am in the shot.
Give me a 10 count, please.
1, 2, 3.
That's enough, thanks.
Yay!
Okay. And if you need a logo designed or stickers made,
if I can't do it, I will point you to somebody who can.
go over to conjette.art on the intertubes, CONJETTE.ART, conjette.art for your sticker needs.
haven't actually put my commissions page back up online, so.
Yeah, or you go through the back door and let me know, and I'll pass the word. So where were we? We were talking about trays. I was worried. I was like, I don't know if I could fill an hour today, right? So I learned something interesting. I wasn't going to bring this up, but I'm going to bring this up. When you buy a set of stones and you get the tray and you get the lid from me, they are both now laser marked, and it makes it a little bit unique item, and it puts the logo in the right place. We have started using the trademark symbol and all that kind of stuff. So I went to test the laser on PLA Plus from eSun, and I suspect it's going to be the same on PLA Tough. And you might notice that the logo is almost impossible to see because it doesn't make a dark mark. It affects the plastic, and it makes this sort of very light mark. So it's actually now I have to think about it. So now I might have to put a sticker on it instead of laser marking if I switch to the PLA Plus or the PLA Tough. But I digress. So the material research has been very interesting. Here's my shoot from the hip list of tests. Sun Lu PETG, stringy, didn't like the color. eSun PETG, effectively identical to the Overture PETG. Liked it a lot. eSun PLA Plus, liked it a lot. Very similar to the PLA Tough from Bamboo. Bamboo's PLA Tough in green, really nice. Like, might be my go-to filament from now on. Bamboo PETG carbon fiber might as well have been printing with a chocolate brownie. It was terrible. Don't know why. It has a very low yield point. Took a set. When you say carbon fiber, it's supposed to be wonderful and strong and space age. Submarines notwithstanding. Too soon? Too soon. Okay, sorry.
Not that.
Everybody should have a peanut gallery. Then I tried the Bamboo PLA carbon fiber. Way better. Actually seems pretty nice, and it does seem like it has a higher modulus than PLA alone or the PLA Tough. So that's cool. But for some reason, the PETG CF, absolute negative. What else did we test? Of course, we tested the PLA Basic from Bamboo. Loved it. Part of it might be that they have their tuning, really tight for that filament. But it was spectacular. But it's, PLA, so your mileage may vary. So I'm bringing this all back around to the business decision. So the business decision was, let's look at the prices of everything. Well, the Bamboo PETG Basic is actually going to be a little bit more expensive than the Overture. Unix says, my experience with fiber filaments, carbon and other, really narrow temperature range to print successfully. So I can believe that. My concern is that I'm trusting Bamboo's tuning of Bamboo's filament for use in Bamboo's printer, and I didn't like it. So can I go start tuning and messing around? Yes. Do I want to? Absolutely not. So K-Bonk says, why not print the logo in a complement color? Actually, that's interesting. I could do that. So we'll look at that. And now I can, right? The reason I hadn't considered it is I never had a printer that can do it. Now I have a printer that can do it. Is it a good idea? I don't know. So it might happen. I will take that as homework. Yeah, complement color. Nice. All right, so we'll look into that. That's a good idea. So it's either going to be a complement color or it'll be a sticker. And Robert Isaac said something similar. Print the logo in relief. Also a good idea. K-Bonk says, just did some text tests with Prusa Slicer 2.6. Very simple. Yep. I also played with that feature. But, yeah. So, I lost my graphics department, so I can't ask. Oh, no, my graphics department is back.
Sorry, I had I felt obligated to grab the...
Oh, one of our filament tests?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're looking...
It's hard to see against my blue sweatshirt.
Yeah, if you're looking at the video...
Yeah.
I'll get out of the way.
There we go.
We printed a dragon, which is, what do you call that? Print in place. A print in place articulated dragon. And that was blue, bamboo, PLA, basic. And it just was spectacular.
You want to hold him up to the camera yourself. I asked some friends what we should name him, and his name has been decided as Noodle Ghost, after Caligos from World of Warcraft. So, yeah, I'm going to be showing my my team members at Blizzard, and they're going to get a kick out of it. I hope.
So that was part of the testing, and that was a real torture test. We did one in red in the the Sunlu PETG. That's one of the prints that I really didn't like. I mean, it came out okay, but the color was and the stringiness wasn't terribly good. So, thank you.
Yeah.
So one of the guys
was there a question for the graphics department?
Yeah, they brought up printing, because now I could do multicolor prints.
Yeah.
Putting the logo in a contrasting color or a complementary color right in the print.
Yeah.
So we should talk about that.
We should. I guess my question is, would you want it to be like flat, or would you want it to be like a raised?
Yeah. Well, flat is desirable.
Yeah.
So I have to look into putting it in the first layer. I think you could do that. So I will. I took it as homework.
Okay. That is probably a good thing to check out.
And just do it in black. It will look great.
It would look, I think, best in black, especially given your entire color scheme thus far has been black and red. And
I'd also be worried about the resolution. Like the resolution of the laser or the resolution of a sticker is much higher.
Yeah, and I mean, personally, I actually like the light marks.
I actually thought it was pretty cool.
I think it's a nice little subtle detail, and if you're able to get a consistent kind of coloring, it's nice for something that looks a little more subtle.
Yeah.
Especially because the darker marks have the tendency to kind of bleed out and char a little bit, and that looks a lot cleaner.
We will experiment.
Maybe.
We will experiment. So the business decision was, I'm going to go to the bamboo filament, even though it's a couple of bucks more than the Overture filament. Okay. If and only if the sample comes in and I test it and it looks good. And the reason is that it works with the reusable spools and the refills. It comes in refills. Unix says, flat is indeed desirable for anything PFG Stones. You are correct, and I thank you. So I may end up spending a couple of more bucks per spool for filament that is more process reliable. So that's kind of where I'm at, is like, gee, you mean I don't have to put electrical tape on a cardboard spool, and even the RFID thing should be working. And I'm not creating waste because I'm able to buy the refill. So there's all sorts of reasons, but again, my testing has been delayed. But I will keep you guys posted with how that goes and what I end up deciding. Wes says, do the KP logo hollow on the lid? Don't print the logo area at all. Yeah, so that's a possibility. Like I said, of all the things we talked about, the thing that tickled my fancy was printing it in the first layer with a contrasting color, and I believe we can do that. We have an experiment to perform. At this point, I just want to tell you that if you're on Discord, or if you'd like to join us on Discord, right now I think we only have one person watching on Discord. But if you were on Discord, you can actually come in with a question or a comment on audio.
Yeah.
So for the future, get on the Discord server. You could actually watch everything you're watching on YouTube on the Discord server, and then you can come in with an audio question.
And little side note here, the Discord is also a really fun way to potentially interact with other community members.
By the way, the entire Discord server was set up by someone, a close personal friend of mine. So you could blame Sam for that.
Yeah. I mean, the Discord server is kind of a community hub, I think is what you were aiming for, as far as, sharing resources, having discussions, after parties in the Discord chats, because there are voice chats and there are text chats and there are forums. And there's also, and I'm getting, now I'm over here. Discord is a pretty fun platform. And if it's not immediately intuitive, there are multiple people on the server whom you can ask, myself included. I do this too much.
You do this too much.
I live on Discord practically.
Okay, so I want to talk about a few more 3D printing things, and then I want to get back to grinders. And yes, Wes says, and waste. Yeah, I'm intrigued to try the refills from Bamboo. We'll see what happens. Let's see. A whole bunch of discussion about, let's finish up the whole filament thing. When we talk about all these filaments and which filament to use and what the different characteristics are, it reminds me very much of alloys in our metalworking, right? We think about aluminum. What kind of aluminum are you going to make that out of? I did a project once. I don't think I've shown it. Well, I haven't shown it recently, but it was a Cassegrain reflector. I wonder if Adam is paying attention now. Adam B. Adam Balog. It was a Cassegrain reflector for 200 gigahertz, and there were 3 different aluminum alloys in that design. There was 2024 for some of the threaded parts. I made a focusing mechanism for it. That was 2024. There was 6061, which was for some parts that needed to be extrusions, and it was a 6061 extrusion was perfect. And then there was Mike 6. I'm sorry, it was Alpay's M1, which is the same as Mike 6. It was a jig plate alloy, a cast, because the cast had no stresses in it. So you look at it and say, oh yeah, it's all aluminum. No, but there's 3 different alloys in it. So picking these filaments for different applications and different jobs in the 3D printing world is kind of the same thing. We're picking strength, we're picking stiffness, we're picking chemical resistance. Well, in my case, I observed, I didn't expect this, but I observed a difference in behavior with the laser. So it's another alloy problem, and we should treat it that way. And I think it's pretty cool that we've arrived in the 3D printing world to be thinking of it in terms of production and engineering, and same way we always did, which is pretty cool. Let's see. Oh, another interesting thing that happened to me was that when I printed these lids in 2 different alloys in the 2 different printers at the same time, it was fascinating because when I pulled one of the plates out that had the PETG on it, it had cooled on the plate, and it literally had enough stress in it that it was actually bending the plate. And the PLA one didn't. It remained relatively flat. So the shrinkage was or the stress, but really they're the same thing, was remarkable. So, all right, enough on alloys. So that they're alloys, but they're plastic alloys. Also last week, we talked about the control of humidity, and I just wanted to share with you. I don't know if I showed these on camera, but this is the Desiccant Container, which I found on Printables, and it has been very successful. And Wes started also making these very successfully. The part numbers for the hygrometers, which are like effectively $3. All of that is on my links page at pfg.gg/links. Hey, Tucker. Welcome aboard, Tuck. Nice to see you, bud. Are you east or west? Are you at home or are you in California? I didn't expect to see you this late. Anyway, so these have been extremely successful, and this fits in the center of the spool, whatever spool you have, and then this whole thing drops into a Sterilite container, which is 4.7 quarts, and that link is also on the links page. That's been fantastic. And here's the rule. The rule is you fill this thing up with desiccant, which you can recharge. That's also on the links page. Flat Lapper says they work great. I've printed a few, no issues. Isn't it nice? It's just such a nice design. You're east at home. Okay, so Tuck says he's at home, got his CNC running. In the excitement, he remembered the live today, which he said, my love today. I'm glad you remembered my love, Tuck. Just saying. So you put this in the thing, and if the filament's dry and the desiccant is dry, you're ready to go, I find that they level out at like 10% relative humidity, which might be the bottom of the instrument. I'm not sure. But I have started to see the desiccant starting to saturate, and that numbers start to come up. And I have established 15% relative humidity as the number where I will pull the desiccant container out, dump the desiccant into the recharge bin, put new desiccant in, and start the process over. That is working super well. 15% being the magic number. Art says, Wes says, the lids weren't as successful. Had one come unstuck. That one unstuck some others. We've been helping Wes fight some adhesion issues, but we're getting there. Public service announcement, 91% isopropyl alcohol is not 99% isopropyl alcohol. I know this is going to come as a shock to you, but there's a link on the links page for the alcohol that I get off of Amazon, which is 99%. I buy it 4 gallons at a time, I think. So, a little bit of process update. That's working great. Highly recommend it. Let's see. Another issue, we talked about glue stick. And I think I've come to the realization that glue stick is a bad name for what we get for 3D printing. It should be called release stick, meaning if you print PETG on a PEI surface, clean and smooth, it might stick too much, like permanently, like damage your plate. And that's why you're recommended to use a release agent. And the most popular one is glue stick, right? So you use some glue stick on the PEI plate and you make it so that your PETG stuff will release and not rip off the PEI. That's a release agent. Yet the name glue stick seems to make us think that it's helping it stick. I use Windex for that purpose. Clean it with Windex, leave it wet, and it's the same process. You have a mold release. So we've been very successful. Let me clarify that. I've been very successful in not using any glue stick ever. I haven't used it to date since I sold the Taz 6. Actually, I should clarify that. I think it's since I watched a video with Joseph Prusa showing that they used Windex in one of the videos, and I tried it, and it worked great. And that was the beginning of my using Windex. Okay, if you have any questions, throw them in the chat, because I'm bringing this thing in for a landing soon. A funny story today. I sent a message to a friend of a friend who was a welding inspector, and I asked him some questions about welding rods. In particular, I have a box of welding rods that I purchased at Home Depot. 7018 rods, Lincoln brand, packaged for Home Depot. It was probably a couple of pounds, 2-3 pounds of sticks. And they've been sitting unused for a long time. So I sent them a message and I said, should I toss these, or can I dry them out? Because 7018 is supposed to be kept dry. Does this sound familiar, you 3D printer guys? And he said, well, you can dry them at least once by heating them up to between 70 and 150 degrees above ambient. And he says, if you don't do that, the moisture can combine with the cellulose, and it might cause underwear cracking. I said, thank you very much for the information. You had me at underwear cracking. And he very quickly went, asterisk, underbead cracking. It's like, it's okay, dude. You had me at underwear cracking. That was perfect. So remember,
Did you play bass?
I did play bass for underwear cracking back in the 80s. Do you remember that?
Unfortunately.
That was a good time. It was a good time. Flat Lapper says he's sitting at 17% in his... Are you using the Sterilite containers? Or are you using another container? That's 17% is good, but could be better. Just saying. Okay. So, let's see. I think we got all those things. I'm going to do one more off-topic thing, and then we'll get back on topic here. So I don't think I talk about this very much, but you guys may or may not know that I design antennas as my main gig. And I don't talk about that a lot. And the question came up, how come I don't do that? And one of the problems I wanted to explain that my clients, they're kind of sensitive to their products being talked about, especially the stuff that I do. So generally I am prohibited by NDA from talking about it. So I just generally haven't done that. When I can, I do. But when I can't, I don't. And that means I don't talk a lot about my antenna work. But if you guys are interested, or if anybody is interested in some discussions of, or maybe a little mini course in antennas and how they work and why they work and how to use them, and ultimately maybe how to design them, I would be open to doing something like that separately. That does not involve any of the work that I'm doing for clients. But I would be open to that, and been thinking about doing that, and been thinking about doing a little YouTube course on the antennasis side of the house, and I'd like to get some feedback. So I'm just throwing it out there, and you can get back to me via whatever channel you like, and let me know what you think about that.
Speaking of communication, I have a question.
Hang on. There's an audio question coming in.
Hey.
I think it's on Discord.
Is the Discord link in the links, in the link tree?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes. The Discord. Okay, thank you from the Peanut Gallery. The link to our Discord server is in pfg.gg/links. And you'll see it. There's an invite to the Discord server right there. I think I have it limited to 100 uses, so I don't think we are at risk of hitting that limit. So if you're curious about getting on Discord and you hit that button, I think that is a good start. And anybody who is on Discord that would be happy to help you get on that. I'm not pushing it. I'm just saying there it is. It's a tool. Time to use the tool.
I tried to put the link in the chat earlier and it wasn't showing. That's
Ah.
why I was asking.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I specifically put it in the links page. So I want to talk a little bit about this concept of why grinders need maximum automation. And really, this goes for any machine tool, but I'm particularly sensitive to the whole issue of grinders. If you do any surface grinding work in any quantity and you do it on a manual surface grinder, your left arm must be 17 inches around, okay? When I started making PFG stones, I was doing it on a manual Harrig 6x12 grinder. And let me tell you, my left shoulder from turning the crank was really starting to hurt. And that's what we call a repetitive stress injury. I know at least one person who's listening right now is wincing because they understand what I'm talking about. I'm not naming names.
I'm wincing, but for my wrist, because it happens with every different.
Yeah, Sam's an artist, and the use of the stylus or the pencil or the Sharpie constantly over and over again, same thing. It's called a repetitive stress injury. So when I bought the Micromaster, the Brown & Sharp Micromaster, to upgrade my capabilities here, and I ran that thing for 3 years, the fact that it had a hydraulic drive on the table, the crossfeed was terrible, but it was good for roughing, not good for finishing. A little inside baseball. But the fact that it had a hydraulic drive was just unbelievable, and it helped a lot. But I still had to stand in front of the grinder, and I still had to operate the Z-axis, which is the in and out axis, which everybody who runs a mill wants to call the Y-axis. And literally, this was still an issue. When I got the Okamoto, and for you playing at home, that's an ACC 818NC, and everything was automated except for loading and unloading the parts and setting up your work holding. It was a huge relief, and it really mattered. But grinders are the one of all the machines. Grinders require that left, cranking that crank in a manual machine the most. And I would highly encourage you just to think about, when you're thinking about your shop and your shop work and the stuff that you want to do, and maybe you're not set up for CNC, and then somebody suggests you look at getting a CNC machine. This is one of the reasons to get a CNC machine, is not turning cranks, standing there turning cranks. It's not just a matter of efficiency. This concept of repetitive stress injuries is very real, and I have had to deal with a few of them, and I'm very happy to have the CNC grinder. Now, nobody's going to suggest that anybody's out there with a manual 3D printer. That's another CNC machine. But there's still plenty of people out there with manual grinders who are doing great work. And if you're doing very super special one-off work, okay, you could sort of almost make the argument. But I would strongly encourage you add to the list of reasons you should look at CNC capability as being preventing RSIs, or repetitive stress injuries. John in Zanesville says someone needs to make a manual 3D printer. You know what they do? There's this thing called a 3D printing pen, and It exists. I'm not making this up, right?
No, you're not.
See?
You're not. 3D printing pens do exist. They're hard to get the hang of. Ask me how I know. It's the equivalent of a hot glue gun, but in pen form.
There you go. Hey, look. Unix agrees with you. He says it's a hot glue gun that drives filament.
Yeah.
So it's real. It really exists. Of course, you thought. I know what you're thinking, John. You were like, I'm going to come up with something so absurd that it's a joke. They're selling it. You can go buy it. Go over to Amazon and type in 3D printing pen, and stand back.
Yeah, people do stuff with it. I've seen it used actually. I've seen this done in a couple of ways in the mini painting community, especially those folks who do stuff for Dungeons and Dragons and Warhammer 40K, where they're creating miniatures and they'll want to add on to the miniature, and they'll use this 3D printing pen to like create these little things, or they'll use like UV resin and cure it, like 5-minute curing UV resin and cure it with a little UV light puck. I've seen that done before. It has a lot of applications in like little fine fidgety stuff, but
John says, I'll buy it when you start your wood shop. Don't hold your breath.
What about hacking IKEA furniture? Does that count?
Chipload says, already got a manual stapler. Sky is the limit. The pen is it actually is sort of cool from a, first glance art capability.
Yeah. It's not meant for, I think, anything
useful?
Useful? Look, depends on your definition of useful here, and depends on what you're actually doing.
Yeah.
It has use and purpose for some things, but not things that I think this audience is very interested in.
Yeah. Anyway, but again, as my joints get older, the CNC machine means something new to me now. It's like, oh, I could walk away for an hour.
Where's your elbow brace? That's the question.
This just in, a serious question. Has anyone strapped articulation to lapping plates and such? So I think you're asking the question, has there been any automated /CNC lapping apparati? Am I reading you right there, Unix? So the answer is yes. It doesn't need much fanciness, although I'm sure there are some that are fancy. Actually, John Grimsmo has a lapping machine. And if you go talk to Adam Balog, he learned all about optical lapping machines, which is, and Extra Minty Matt. He's another cool dude who is in the optics world. And those guys have machines doing optical lapping, just like we have machines, cranking out, our parts on CNC machines. So the answer is yes, that exists. But I still think there's a human, well, like any precision application, there's a human who's going to do measurements on it. But they're not super automated that I've seen. They're very simple. But yeah, you can set one of these machines up and walk away for a couple hours instead of doing it yourself. Yeah, the answer is yes. You can absolutely do it. Don't forget that flat is just curved with a radius of infinity. Unix is off to build one. Okay, go. Yeah, again, that's a really good idea, and especially that particular operation of doing the 3-plate flat generation. Another place where your elbows are going to say thank you very much. I think I've had enough. Yeah, good question. Anyway, we want to stay healthy out there and not wear these things out, especially things like your CMC joint. Ask me how I know. And your shoulder. Ask me how I know. And, as John will agree, You're elbow. Who used to say elbow?
Oh, shush! Shut up! I'll jam my elbow into your head. Thank you.
So take care of all your major joints and don't get those RSIs. I think that's the message here. So so Unix is off to design a mechanism for doing 3D flat generation, which I think is excellent. I think we hit all of the high points here and answered all of your intriguing questions. Oh, so there was one question that came in via direct message this morning, which I want to address, and we'll put this one to bed real quick. And this gentleman says, hey, what are your thoughts about the Bamboo printer versus the Prusa Mark IV printer? And my answer to him was, I think Joseph Prusa has a lot to think about. I think he's a little bit behind the power curve. And he made the argument that, well, they have more track record and you have more control over stuff. And I said that it was an Android versus Apple question. There are people who love Androids because they're not beholden to any master when it comes to certain software they want to run or not run on their phones, on their Android phones, and they don't want to get an Apple product because it's a walled garden. And really, I see Prusa as being sort of the Android, open source and blah, 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 whereas Bamboo is sort of the Apple. Well, I like my iPhone, and my iPhone is also made in China, by the way, so we can kill that argument right away. And I like being in a walled garden where I could pick up a spool, drop it into the machine. Ideally, the machine reads the RFID tag, sets it, and I'm off to the races. And it works really well. I'm fine with that. Flat Lapper says, I ended up going with Mother Macintosh. Fair enough. So there's an advantage to being in a highly vertically integrated walled garden, and that is everything was designed to work together. And if you want to be in the 3D printing hobby or 3D printing advanced, startup business or whatever, have a ball. I use it as a tool. I just want it to work. Robin Renzetti said he found this 3D printer that just works, and he bought one. And that's what he wanted. It just has to work because he's off doing other stuff, which he's super good at. He doesn't want to become, some 3D printing expert. John Saunders, who's in the chat, same thing. He needs a printer that he can walk up to, say, do this, and walk away and not have to think about it. And I think that's the difference. Now, isn't Prusa at the point where, I had my Prusa printers at the point where I pretty much was able to get them set up and then walk away, and I got really good products out of them over and over and over again. Yes, but I found the Bamboos better, and I found the automation better, and the sensing better, and the enclosure better, and the AMS better, and yeah, it's better. So Flat Lapper says it has made it super easy for a beginner. I don't need another career. Absolutely, totally agree. And here's a question for the spool reloading process. Well, yeah, that's about the only thing that's left to manually is just putting the spool in. I suppose you can get yourself a Fanuc robot. How come nobody told me that that I had the wrong graphic up this whole time? There, that's better. That's just one of the collector's items. Anyway, that was one question I got today, and that was my unload on that. I still have 2 Prusa printers standing by, but they're getting lonelier and lonelier. Well, it's 5 minutes after the hour, so we're running a little teeny bit long. And unless you guys have anything, we're going to put the bows on this. Next week looks like a normal Sunday. We'll be back. It seems like the ultra low latency that we tested today on YouTube seems to work great, and we will continue to do that, and that helps us in communicating with you guys. I will be in the PFG.Live stage on our Discord server after this show, and if anybody wants to join me there. CJ Stevens says, thanks again for your time. Hey, my pleasure. See you next week, CJ. Hey, and CJ Stevens gets a shout out because he helped me debug some technical issues today between Discord and OBS, and for that I thank you. Flat Lapper, take care. John, great having you here. Have an awesome rest of your Sunday. Carl, thank you so much. Always great to see you. Chipload, we'll see you next Sunday. And yeah, bring a friend. We'll see you later. And
or a peanut gallery.
Or a peanut gallery.